So we're doing a live, and we got a special person coming in. Hi Nick, hi Shay. I'm trying to invite you. Oh, come on, man. So the invite. Okay, here you go. So Shay, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect. And I'm waiting for people to come on. So
Yeah,
wait for people
yeah.
to come on.
Let's do it. Let's
It's
hang
exciting.
tight. This happens on mine a lot. It takes a second to get
Yeah,
people.
absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like, it's intense energy. It's been
Yeah. Yeah,
and
that is very true.
intense energy, and we are actually going to be talking about a lot of things. Spirit, we're melding a lot of energies about how to be a light worker or to be a light bringer or what it means to be a light bringer. We're also going to do an oracle reading for the collective. So stay put on that. That's going to happen as well. And so I'm just waiting for more people to come in because people are bouncing in and out. They're not sure what this is.
Yeah.
And of course, I made the mistake of not changing the bloody title. I don't even know what the title is. Shit.
I know I had to be more mindful of that because I'd be talking about something completely different.
Completely different. Yeah.
And then people would be on like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh crap, I left that other one on.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. They get you that way.
Yeah, it's
But
messed up. So what we're going to be talking about today is the concept of spirituality and understanding the infrastructure that is the word that I'm getting oppressive energy. And we need to talk about that. I'm going to do an oracle reading. So again, I'm waiting for people. Oh my God. Okay. So yeah, so let's wait. We got 4 people on. Anybody that is a twin flame on the twin flame journey, anyone who is a star seed and understands what that means, anyone at all on that level of consciousness, twin flame, star seeds, there's much more to the journey than just the puppy love, the love that comes from that. It's an activator. So, and the reason why we're having this live is we need to talk about that and advocacy for yourself and advocacy for your union with your beloved and advocacy on how that's going to work in the current frequency that we're being given as a choice. There are 2 frequencies going tandem, and I'm hoping that people will stick because I know people want to hear the Ken and Barbie story sometimes, and it's funny. I'm actually saging with Palo Santo and it fucking caught on fire, the whole stick. Major saging here.
yeah.
But
I'm about to spark some camphor. That's one of my favorites for
oh, cool.
cleansing and
That's
you
nice. I
know.
love that. Yeah.
I mean, I sage constantly. I mean, I just oh my
Yeah.
God.
So
I love it.
if you're
You can,
like,
and I tell people too, I say this, I'm like,
yeah,
long before there was science to ever prove that white sage could shift the electromagnetic field of a room, we have science that can prove that. Natives have been using it for thousands of years with
yeah,
no science to back that it did absolutely anything at all.
right.
The power of consciousness,
Yeah,
I say that a lot.
I hear you. I agree with you. I had a Jehovah's Witness a long time ago, like 10 years ago. And I said, look, he was saying, everything's falling apart. I said, sage the house. He goes, no, I mean, I said, no, listen, you've been doing this. Go ahead and sage the house. And he could not believe it. He said, everything turned around within 48 hours. He said, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
He was coming in, fights had stopped. And he was a devout Jehovah's Witness. So it's not a religious thing. It's an energy thing.
Oh, I know. I have to explain that. I actually just did that the other day where, because you see and I swear those paranormal shows really, they
Yeah.
really set the wrong tone. I say this constantly. And so a lot of times, I burn it constantly just to clear out stagnant energy. I mean, especially in a time that we're living in right now, like regardless of where your vibration is,
Yeah.
you are having stagnant negative energy that you're purging. If you're good at it, you're purging it out, so it's going somewhere. So
Right.
that sage just helps push it on out back into the universe to be transmuted, so I burn it a lot. And
Yeah. Right on.
I tell people, I'm like, it is not to cast out any type of demons. It's
Right.
not, that is not, doesn't mean the house is haunted. It's not, I'm like, it just is saying this old energy, this stagnant energy of the day. Let's go ahead and get it out of there so we can breathe in new, you know?
Yeah, right on. Exactly. And some people have never done that. In California, real estate agents actually use sage to actually cleanse the whole house inside and out. And it's a house that's been sitting and selling. The minute they sage, boom, the house sells in a week. And I'm talking about this market, not the market, the COVID market. So let me ask you guys to share the live. If you could be so kind as to share the live, so that we can have more message, the message coming out for people, because people need to hear it, because people are going through a really whacked energy. There are people harming themselves, star seeds, light bringers, light workers. And I'm going to do an oracle reading from the light worker oracle, and then we're going to first have Shay introduce herself and talk about what she does. Then right after that, we'll do an oracle reading, and then we'll continue. This is not an interview so much as it's conversation. I've dropped hard today, says Anne. I'm really sorry. If you're not saging yourself, Anne, sweetie, that's the first thing. After that, you want to work on your chakras, okay? And if you don't know how to work on your chakras, look at my guided meditation on my profile link. You'll see on my profile, you'll see guided meditation. I'll say that. Go for Ho'oponopono, because we're all getting our asses kicked, okay? But that doesn't make it better just because we're all sharing that same energy. Antimicrobial, she was saying about saging. So if you guys could all be so kind as to share, because me and Nick, Shay, Nick Cage Stunt Double, we've all been shadow banned here and there since we started saying some things that powers that be don't want to hear it. And we're very appreciative of TikTok, because if it wasn't TikTok, we wouldn't have the kind of freedom of speech. Let's be honest, okay? Because Instagram and YouTube definitely showed us how crazy it got during the pandemic. So if you guys are into, can you speak English?
I think it's because, yeah. Don't worry, they like to come in. You're speaking.
No, you don't understand. I don't care. I can.
Yeah.
No, but listen, CEO, I can actually speak to you in French and English. So you let me know if you would.
Oh, I love when we speak other languages to Americans who are trying to insult us.
Yeah. So anyway, if this doesn't resonate with you, it's called scrolling, my friend. No problem. You keep scrolling, just like I scroll over these people that look like robots, that are acting like Barbie doll robots that get 4, 5, 10,000 lives. Those people, sometimes I wonder at people's consciousness that they would rather look at that than listen to intelligent or conversations that push your comfort zone. That always kind of, I don't understand that. So anyway, with that said, if you guys could actually share the live, and this live will be...
Tap the screen too. I was just tapping the screen. Tap the screen like it. As she said, we are both on the, well, we're on the shadow band. We're on the shadow side of TikTok because things that we say challenge the institutions that keep many of us stuck and complacent. And though it's not illegal, it's not against the terms and conditions. There's nothing. We all know how this kind of thing works, and
yeah. And then Claudia is another person who's going to come on this week. Just like you, she just came on. But I want to focus on Shay. So Shay, go ahead and introduce yourself. We've got 13 people. That's enough.
Oh no, that's fine. They come in. I bounce all over the place. So for those of you who don't follow me, so my name is Nick Cage's stunt double on here, and the reason for that is when I would go live, so many people felt the need to tell me that I look like Nicolas Cage, or a few other people, but that one just cracked me up, so I switched my name to that, and it just kind of became who I was, and that's it. But my real name is Shay. And so back in August, I began after Maui, the wildfires in Maui. I began having conversations with people on both sides of the political spectrum to get us to try to unify collectively and address what was happening in our country, regardless, because everyone, regardless who you voted for, is suffering. And I went on live several times. I went daily and had those conversations. And, so who I am as a whole prior to that moment of having political conversations and conversations about legislation. You can see from my earlier content, I am a very spiritual being. I had many ascensions. I have had my egoic death. It was, yeah, very terrible. And I am a person who I know that I'm meant to help raise the collective vibration. One of our biggest dividers is political in this realm, in this human realm. The physical realm is political, and not many people can address that because it's very difficult. So that's what I do my best to do.
She basically is advocating for conscious awakening to people who are definitely densely entrenched in their 3D egoic framework of what is true and possible. And as a light worker, because she is a light worker, okay, she is also psychic. She's being very humble. She's a real deal psychic, okay? But she doesn't offer that. She's got a Patreon. She has conversations that bridge the gap between our 3D brothers and sisters and us. And why does that why does that matter? Because if some of you guys are in a twin flame relationship and your person is a 3D egoic bound in fear consciousness, fear of the unknown, right? Which is spiritual ascension. It is unknown. It is scary. Even though all the scriptures, Sumerian, Bible, Hebrew, the Quran, all, Buddhism, talking about the ascension on some level, you know what I mean? We've all know that we can recognize that it's happening right now. And yet, some of you guys are in separation because your 3D twin is a 3D'er. So when people like SHEA come in and start bridging that bridge between the spiritual ascension, that's why she's a light worker, and into the political infrastructure, and people want to, I don't want to talk about this, it makes me uncomfortable, I don't talk politics, and all of you sweeties, my dears, my brothers and sisters, we better start talking about politics and infrastructure because we want a new earth. And that takes a change, a massive change. Go ahead.
Absolutely. No, I love what you said. I throughout my last ascension, my biggest one, I knew that I was meant to help people. I knew I did not know where, okay, and I didn't know how, I didn't know what, and I had to be very, very patient. And it feels to me that I'm very well suited to be in the platform that I am, because I am familiar with economics, I am familiar with government, I am familiar with policy, and I also am an awakened soul. So I know that the importance of pushing and allowing our energy to envision this world that is peaceful, this world that is more harmonious with one another and is not so split, not so divided. And I give absolute respect and love to every energy worker that is meditating and manifesting this world. Mm-hmm. Having said that, we are still in the physical realm, all of us. None of our realities get to escape, no matter how high vibrational we believe ourselves to be. We do not get to escape what happens in this physical realm. Exactly. And for that, there needs to be people who can bring forth the new world. Mm-hmm. and within the confines and the structures that were placed in this physical realm. And it begins with getting us to at least be able to have conversations, and that leads to understanding, and that leads to less hatred. And these are not fun conversations sometimes, not one bit. Yeah. But and I get people, and I've shared this with Tony. I get people in in my lives who know, they're familiar with me on a spiritual level, and they'll see me interacting with someone, and sometimes I will admit my patience runs out, but at times, but I get it back, and I've had things said to me like, "Oh, that's so low vibrational," it's so low vibrational, and in my mind, I'm like, please don't do this, guys, because if a handful of us are high vibrational, we're pushing through collectively the new world. It still requires high vibrational beings to do some different types of legwork to push into this new world into fruition. And that starts with connecting people and reminding them that they are connected, not telling them, not introducing them, reminding them that they are connected with every living being. for them to see us as one, for them to see themselves as one with their neighbor, and root and vote, and have a mindset that advocates for everybody. It's dirty work.
Yes, it is dirty work, and we have all kinds of different. We had the indigo, and you guys all heard about indigos probably in the late '80s, early '90s, right? But we've had different. How do I put it? Because I don't remember how to call it, but different colored frequencies of humanity. We had a brown, we had the violet, we had the red, and then the indigos came in. And there's this fallacy that some of the indigos started being born in the 1960s and 70s, and I will say no. My twin was born in the late 40s, and he's definitely an indigo. So there were a lot of people coming in to lay out that he's the hippie generations. You understand? He's still a hippie, okay, fundamentally speaking. And so we needed people just like Jesus who went into the merchants and kicked over the tables. We needed those people. We needed more of those people. And so you have people like my son, who's a dark empath. You have light workers, like many of you will say, I'm a light worker. I walk in light. And you want to keep your vibration high. But you have to also respect and give sacred space to dark empaths, okay, to other empathic power shamans who are light warriors. And light warriors sometimes elicit triggering of one's shadows, which is entrenched in fear of the unknown and fear of change. Sometimes apocalyptic changes within the self. So when people say it's the end of times, yes, it's the end of the bullshit. it's the end of bullshit. You know what I mean? And that's what's happening. It's not the end of times. And in fact, thank God it is, because what we're looking at is a new world, a new earth, which Eckhart Tolle wrote about. And it's been discussed for centuries. So we're lucky, but we have to stick together, because I'm seeing a lot of divide and conquer in the spiritual community. We are also human beings. We are toxic. Twins are toxic. Twins can be narcissistic. They can be all kinds of things, right? We're not walking on water yet, none of us. However, what we have to understand is that some of these incredible shamanic light warriors like SHEA are so powerful and elicit such discomfort in people that people run from that, thinking they're running from darkness. No, they're running from their own darkness. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that, SHEA?
No, I agree. One of the things, now I say this a lot on my lives, I tell people, I'm like, I am a very different person from who I was several years ago. And I don't give a lot of backstory, and that is intentional, because at this point, this is who I am moving forward. And I am the person who has the patience and the resilience, I would say, to withstand having conversations with people when they disagree, especially political conversations. Because when I say politics plays into this, that is what is used to split our consciousness. It is used to split our collective consciousness. It is the biggest divider that we have. And a lot of the information that people are holding on to not like another person, or to feel superior, or to dehumanize, are false narratives, that I believe to be false narratives. So yes, to do this, it requires a tremendous amount of resilience and a tremendous amount of light, which I feel very blessed to, that Source continues to give me. Having said that, as far as the spiritualist community, my biggest fear, and I believe that you agree with me on this, but my biggest fear is that we will bring too much of that indoctrination that we have had placed upon us into it. As in, we all have different jobs here, just as she said, we all have a different role to bring this forth. And some of those roles maybe conflict with what your best version of yourself is. Maybe your best version is a transmuter of energy, and you are meant to keep yourself as high vibrational and keep yourself pushing forward. But there are many people that have to go a little bit more into the trenches, because there has to be a type of, and I hate using the word collapse because I don't want it to sound violent, but there has to be a type of resolution to the old world to bring forth the new. And that's just how it works. These people are not going to, the people that have kept our minds oppressed are not going to just go, oh, you know what, I guess this has been enough. We're just going to go. They haven't done it yet. They're not going to do it. So getting people to awaken to what they've been told as not being 100% truthful, or that their neighbor who's a different color, that loves differently, a different religion, may not be a terrible human, may get them, and I'm not going to say may, it does get people. I get numerous messages. I have formed wonderful relationships with people who I was the first queer person they've spoken to in depth. And I feel very grateful for that. But it gives, and you can see from the way I look, I am not convincing anyone I have a husband at home. And to that point, people believe I look very liberal. And so speaking with conservatives and trying to meet them where they are, it can be difficult because they think I'm baiting them in some way. But the truth of the matter is I am just trying to create humanization where dehumanization has been found so frequently, and in hopes to get people to see how indoctrinated, how brainwashed, and to move forward with love and compassion, because my goal is to not have any, my mission on this earth, I believe, is to bring as many people to the new world as possible. Mm-hmm. It is everyone's soul deserves this, and everyone is worth fighting for, and those will make their decisions or they won't. But my goal is to help them to see the light, and then they can make their decision then to try.
Yes. Amen. And the movie that I always tell people who are just starting out understanding this is, for me, it's a documentary. You guys have all heard about it. Many of you have not seen it, or you haven't seen it with these eyes, these new transcendental eyes. And it's called The Secret with Rhonda Burns, where she talks about the powers that be suppressing the Emerald Tablet and the knowledge of how to manifest. And the first part is brilliant, the way it opens up. So make sure you get to see the whole version of that documentary that shows the beginnings of her scouring through books. You'll see someone try to hide the Emerald Tablet. That's the part I want you to see. And the reason is because she talks about the powers that be, these 11 families or whatever families. Sometimes I hear it's 13. Sometimes I hear it's 5 families, but whatever. It's a real problem. And the brainwashing and the indoctrination that we've dealt with is not just in this incarnation. Clearly, it's multiple incarnations that we've had throughout these incarnations in the Western world, in the East, in the Middle East, whatever. We've gone through that. And so what we're doing during the ascension is we're actually remembering. This is why I give the Sleeping Beauty analogy. When one of us awakens, the rest of the castle awakens. Do you remember the kiss of the Sleeping Beauty? This is where twin flames come in. But we have to look at twin flames and star seeds and see how important they are to waking up the collective, and then separate it. Because if you guys keep thinking, well, I'm not in union, so I'm just going to harm myself or take myself off this incarnation train or whatever, you're missing the point of the twin flame and how important many of you are. Twin flames and star seeds who don't have a twin flame, who chose to incarnate without a twin flame, because the twin flame on the other side, right on past the veils, was going to be able to feed this twin flame or star seed in separation, physical separation as a star seed. Okay, do you understand? To bring more power to their journey to awaken. So that's why some of you don't, it's not that you don't have a twin, it's that the twin chose not to incarnate with you at the same timeline, for example. The other thing that people tend to, we have to be careful of the arrogance that the spiritual community tends to have. Things like the chosen one. The minute somebody tells you you're the chosen one, fucking run. Because that's the ego being fed. Mm-hmm. And the minute that happens, run. We're not chosen. We volunteered. And when we take out the word chosen, we're the chosen one. What it does is it cleans up the egoic consciousness. When we say we volunteered, did you notice the difference in language? I'm a volunteer. I'm more humbled, right? Aren't you humbled? I'm the chosen one. It's like a swaggering energy, as if you're better, as if we're better than it. No, we all volunteered to do this shit. It's a shit show. So we all need to make sure to support each other. Make sure to, I hate to say it, but some of us need our ego slapped back. That's why some of us do bufo. We do bufo and we do ayahuasca. Some of us need that reset. We need to be reset back to zero. So there's a lot of things that many of you will have to experience to actually come into the truest sense of your authentic self. The authentic self is when the ego isn't directing traffic for you. Your soul is. Does that make sense? So that's what we need to really understand as a collective.
I love that you said that. No, I absolutely, like, I tell people too throughout their awakening, I say to them, you've been, and I have been, I'm guilty of this too. We all have been prior to our awakening indoctrinated to some form, brainwashed in some form, that we had to unlearn a lot of bad habits of the people we had to be to navigate a world that was against us, you know, and for many people in this awakening, there's a
Hello? I think you muted yourself. Did you mute yourself? Are you there? The microphone is currently not available. Try again later. I don't know what happened, but while you get that together, currently not available. Try again later. I don't know what happened, but while you get that together, currently not available. Try again later. I don't know what happened, but while you get that together,
Oh, weird.
currently not available. Try again later. I don't know what happened, but while you get that together. This is interesting. All right, phone call. This is interesting.
Whoa, I like muted my mic and everything.
Phone call. This is interesting.
Whoa, I like muted my mic. Oh my God, it's repeating. What's happening? Time loop. Oh, we're in a time. Look at this, guys. Actually, look at this. Look at this. Oh, we're in a time. Look at this, guys. Actually, look at this. No, I know. This is actually fascinating. No, I know.
That says a lot. It's like a portal or something, because that's not normal. All right. So, Shay, mute yourself for a minute. Okay, mute yourself. I'm going to do an oracle reading, okay? Because I feel like it's interesting. This shit's not random, okay?
Oh my God, Tony, stop. It's still going. We're in a portal.
I hear you.
Tony, stop. It's still going. We're in a portal.
Okay, I hear you.
Tony, stop. It's still going.
Okay, so go ahead and mute yourself, Shay. Let me go ahead and do this. You might want to, yeah, she's gonna come back on, I hope. You might want to, okay, so I'm gonna ask you guys, she's a powerhouse. I want you guys to follow her. And if you don't mind, if you could share the live while you're here. Portal in transit. No, it's, what we're saying is so heavy, okay? It's really heavy stuff that this is happening. It's very interesting. She's coming back, so let me invite her back. And let's see how that works. That is so wild. I can't even, are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. This is awesome shit.
I've never had that happen.
Yeah, me neither. Never.
Ever.
Never.
And I keep my phone on airplane mode with just the Wi-Fi, so I cannot receive calls.
Wow.
Never have I had that happen. And I actually was really fascinated. If it didn't get so crazy, I was like, keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah. There's a lot of great energy here.
That was, oh man, I wish we had more people in for that, because that honestly, I could feel that. And it was just, wow. I did lives every day for months, and I've never had that happen.
No, I hear you. No, me neither. So, you know, it segued. I'm going to do the, I felt it, Jen says. There's a lot of good energy in here. She says, timeline shifting. Hold on. Yep. Yeah, we actually were apparently bridging into 5D. That's all I can say. And about the concept of time being a complete illusion. But let me go ahead and go right into the, or is that, are you cool with that, Shay?
Yeah, please.
All right, this is from the Lightworker Oracle. Listen to this, guys, because I want you to get this deck. It's fucking incredible. Lightworker Oracle, Fierce Love, 1111 edition by Alana Fairchild. Listen to this, Humanity as One. And I just got this deck because I knew I needed us more. We needed more of Alana Fairchild's wisdom. I've had that happen while listening to lives. The time is significant, but you know, yeah. My soul just tingled. I know, love it. All right, so let me go ahead and ask you guys to give your angels, guides, and allies permission to get the collective message you need. Because if you're here, it's your message. I never say that about tarot. You know what I mean? On that, well, I do actually when I do my twin flame readings. But Again, if you're here, it's probably your message. But if it isn't your message, don't force it. Sometimes I can be one live and another audio come in as well. Wow. All right, so when you're ready, you guys, go ahead and tell me if you want me to pick from the bottom, middle, or top. Bottom, middle, or top. All right, let's begin. Visualize what is the message I need to hear. When you're ready. 333. Wow. Wow. Top, bottom. I'm going to see how many I want to see. Bottom. Bottom. I'm seeing more bottom, so I'm going to go. Ascension. You guys won't fucking believe it. Ascension, number 18. 18 is God's number. And listen to what 18 is in Kabbalah numerology. It's spiritual material conflict. This was from the bottom, guys. Those who picked the bottom. Okay? So let me read from the bottom. Again, Ascension, 18. You can't make it up if you tried. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the Ascension. So this is your card. No joke. Okay, so let me read, okay? So I want you guys to sit back. Okay, I want you to listen with your body, not just with your ears, with your body. So close your eyes and sit back. All right, let me begin. 18, Ascension. You have been growing spiritually, and as a result, your consciousness is naturally expanding. You can more readily see, know, feel, and receive impressions from higher spiritual sources of insight. You are going through an important phase of awakening that is transforming your experience of the material world from something that you must control, conquer, or possess into a living expression of radiant spirituality to be cherished. As your appreciation and love for the material world becomes more unconditional. Did you guys hear that? As your appreciation and love for the material world becomes more unconditional, you will experience spontaneous light body activations. This is a process of ongoing realization of embodied light, which opens you up to new, varied, and special spiritual experiences. You may need more rest, healing, hydration, movement, and meditation to integrate this increasing degree of light and the consciousness it stimulates within you. In time, it will become more natural for you, and you shall go through a further increase in light quotient. For now, rest to integrate and progress. Listen to this, it continues. The light body is a term for your subtle energy body that includes your auric field, chakra system, subtle bliss channels within the spinal cord, and overall light quotient. It is through your light, hang on for a quick second, body, it is through your light body that spiritual consciousness enters into your physical body and stimulates the development of your soul. This bridge, your light body, further opens and expands as your consciousness is raised, attracting greater and higher energies to nourish and awaken your body, mind, and soul. As your subtle anatomy, including your chakra systems, becomes stimulated by the increasing inflow of spiritual light, a clearing or purification or emptying process occurs, which frees space for further expansion in your consciousness. This clearing is like a spiritual detoxification process that encourages the dissolution of blocks that would otherwise obstruct the flow in your energy field. Such energy blockages can exist in the mind, emotional body, and physical body, as well as your soul, and might include unresolved past and present life issues. As those blocks are broken down and processed, emotional trauma stored in your organs and nervous system can be released. As emotional content is released and cleared, your energy field becomes more spacious. There is room to receive an increased presence of spiritual light. You feel better and clearer about who you are and why you are here. Your light becomes such that even others see more clearly when they are in your field. When this occurs, you are growing as a light worker and helping humanity in increasing ways whilst enjoying your own spiritual growth. Eventually, you naturally begin to attract and radiate light currents of consciousness from the universe. The cycle of growth continues. Ascension is about both light and earth, about rising up through gaining stronger, deeper roots to support the soul. The oracle asks you to recognize the very real and subtle process of your spiritual awakening and to intelligently navigate the effects of this in the material dimension. Genuine spiritual growth is inner work with outer impact. Your inner spiritual healing will shift the way your life force moves in your world. Priorities may change, your way of thinking and being may shift. It may not be predictable, but it is trustworthy. Ascension can be a wild ride. Anything is possible. The past is not an indicator. The future is not set. This is a moment to cultivate your deeper feelings of spiritual love and peace and to trust in your process. During ascension, your life can and often will change dramatically. It is the spiritual intelligence of the light body that empowers us to shift from one inner reality into another. And once stabilized in that new way, the outer world eventually follows. Did you hear that? Listen to this again. It is the spiritual intelligence of the light body that empowers us to shift from one inner reality into another. And once stabilized in that new way, the outer world eventually follows. Enjoy this crossing of your inner rainbow bridge into new consciousness, dear one. You will have everything you need. You are ready for this. It is meant to be. Holy cow. What a reading. And you guys chose the card.
Wow.
Yes.
That's beautiful. That's very fitting, and I'm not surprised one bit that it would be. There's a lot of energy just within this, so I can feel it. And I'm like, ooh, that was speaking. That was speaking.
Yes. Yes. So all of you that are here, that was your message. That was your message. Light worker, humanity is one. And that's what we need to understand. Humanity as one. So what affects someone 7,000 miles away may not be your problem, but it will be in some aspect. Somebody 7,000 miles away may actually embody a bloodline you once incarnated into. Did you guys ever think of that? That the person in another country that's suffering, that could be actually you are one of their ancestors, and vice versa. And that's what we need to understand, the butterfly effect. I had a blow up with my mom today. Outer world alchemized indeed. Yes, so good. Beautiful. Oh my God, it's all me. I need an ascension nap. Exactly. Lots of emotions today. So anything you want to add to that?
For me, I guess moreover, I think that everybody who's listening, I love that card was pulled. Because ascension, we view it as such a gift, and it is. Okay, it is an ascension. It is literally in the words. You're ascending closer to source. It is such a gift, but there are many things that go along with awakenings and ascension that are very hard. And I talk about this a lot, like the egoic death. And the reason I'm shedding light on this is not to shift the mood, but as we ascend, as we get stronger, as we become more a higher vibrational being with more stamina, a clearer picture of our path. Yeah. It is crucial for us to understand and remember what our egoic death was like. And especially those of us who, and for me, I hate the thought of this, like the first awakened and the second and it isn't a competition. Those of us just, it is what it is. And you know what I mean? And I would be honest, this is a much better time to be awakening because there's more people here to talk to you. There's more people who understand what's happening. I know for you and for me, it was very difficult because, well, for me, I did not know what was happening to me and I had no one who I could share with. So knowing the state of the world and recognizing that it is something we have to put energy towards. It does still happen. That is a part of being the collective consciousness, is that we are counterbalancing lower vibrational energy. We are living in a world with them in the physical realm. So what I would say is that those who are awakening or they're going through their egoic death, if they're going through a hard time, their twin flame journey, which I don't talk a ton about, I will definitely leave that to you. In the hiccups and the struggles and the unlearning the lies, we remember how hard it can be on you. It literally essentially deconstructs everything you knew to be true, everything you took comfort in, that illusion. Everything that you believed yourself to be, it challenges and it transforms, and that can be very conflicting. It can be very hard on people. It was hard on me. It was hard on everyone I know, and it's all the more reason that we need to come together when we're experiencing, or we're meeting people who are going through that and are experiencing these hard, that hard part of them, because this is not a fun time in the world to be coming. I can say that, I don't know which is worse, to be awakened when nobody can talk to you about it, or to be awakened to a world, when it's not at its anywhere near its best, so to speak, and a lot of, like you said, a lot of people are struggling to stay in this physical realm. And I think that we should all be careful and conscious of remembering where people are, and remembering what this feels like, and also being mindful of our own path. Right. Being mindful and patient. I can't stress the patient. We don't get to, no one gets to jump steps, unfortunately, and nobody can show you how to jump steps. I can't. It won't matter how far I go. I will never be able to teach someone how the cheat code of Source. It doesn't work. Source will find a way. So I love that you said that, and I'm like, I guess it's also like, use these beautiful gifts. Then I say gifts, I'm saying, as you become more aware of the world around you, you become more aware of things that aren't as great, but you also become more aware of the beauty. The world burns brighter. It just does. The beauty, we're more connected. Take comfort in those times. Take comfort in those things. Use that energy, that refuel. If you have a piece to give to someone who is struggling, just telling them that they are not losing their mind, and that it does get better, and they have a community, and that to go to can make a world of difference. And if they are really, really struggling, reach out to people who are familiar with that, but I think it's a rough time. I do want to point that out. That's why I do what I do, anyway.
I love that you said that, because that makes me jump onto the next thing. And I hate to say that, but in a way I'm here to make sure that twin flames either come into union, or if they can't come into union for many years, that they can live with that and thrive. That's one piece. But what I'm finding is that people are awakening to new skill sets. I refuse to call them gifts. You know why? Because we all have those abilities. Just like you have the ability to walk, and so do I. And some actually don't, but they have other abilities that are much more powerful sometimes than even that. What I'm trying to say to you is that be careful as you start moving into your light, and more into your light. Make sure you realize that some people, how do I put this? I can't put it diplomatically. Some people are really fucking up and acting as if they know everything suddenly, all at once. And it's not how it works. The spoon feeding of being awakened takes time, because if it did not, it could blow your mind, and not in a good way, okay? I remember reading Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception, which, by the way, Jim Morrison of The Doors, he got the title of The Doors from that book. And he basically talks about being on mescaline, right? And how his funnel opened up, and he knew he had a complete understanding of the world and how it was made. And then as soon as he came down from that journey, right, using mescaline, he came back and had forgotten 90% of it, okay? And the reason is because the 3D brain can't hold all that information. So with that said, what happens is that your physical body, the junk DNA is being activated to be able to retain more and more information. But it takes time, hence patience. But the problem, and this is what I said yesterday in my live, I said, be careful of false prophets and false people who just have started on this journey, and suddenly they're putting up their shingle. It's like somebody who's learned how to pull a tooth one day and becomes a dentist. It's ridiculous, and it's happening to levels that is shocking me. And it's harming people who are very, very vulnerable. So people like Shay, people like me, other people out there, I think you guys have enough discernment to know who they are. Those are
They're
the
all
people.
over too.
Yeah, those are the. And sometimes all you need, because I've had to talk people off the ledge many times for many years,
Yeah.
and
Quite
you,
literally too.
yeah,
I mean,
quite
for
literally,
me too. Yeah. Quite literally.
and you have to know your audience. You have to know in other words, you have to know who you're talking to. And the reason I'm saying that is that you might have a friend that's really going through a spiritual like awakening and is freaking them out. And I talked about how there's a very narrow passageway, and some people are not surviving it. I talked about it in one of my videos that I uploaded 3 days ago. They're not surviving it because they're surrounded by people who are so, it's like a Twilight Zone moment where you're feeling like you're losing your fucking mind, and everyone's actually agreeing that you are crazy. And we need to reach out to those people. We need to not be embarrassed. You can tell by their bodies that they're not feeling well in their bodies, and reach out. Are you okay? And just say it. Wow, the ascension of this bitch, isn't it? And you might actually be talking to someone who you would have thought was generally 3D, who's actually, the minute you say that, like, wow, it's a tough energy, right? The ascension, that might break them open to talk to you and say, oh my God, is this what it is? Because I don't feel good in my body. And they may actually break wide open and share with you what they're, and maybe you're able to save them, literally save them, right? And that's what I need people. But if you can't save them, then please, honestly, I'm going to just say it for now, refer them to a suicide hotline. I'm not joking. Or if you have, connections like people like me, Shay, Jen, Tony on Discord, Claudia, there are people out there that can talk, that can help these people, because some people are not, they don't have the wherewithal to do it, and they'll say the wrong thing.
Well, they're
And
still learning. I mean,
yeah,
that's the important part. I love that you're saying, but this is, yeah, it takes a second to get to a place where
yes.
you can guide someone when you yourself are still being guided, quite a bit, So yeah, I mean, yes, I'm happy that you said that. That's kind of exactly.
Yeah, no, that's part of it. And then, because what's happening this, and it's always happened in the spiritual community, where you have people who just, oh well, like there's this arrogant, like, I hate to say it's in all religions, and in a way, spirituality is the oldest religion. It's not New Age; it's very ancient, but. There's an arrogance, to many people in the spiritual community, like, oh well, I won't look at what's going on across the world because I don't want to lower my frequency. Dude, are you that weak that you're afraid to lower your? No, understand that you're going through two things when you're dealing with frequency. One is that as you lower, you match the frequency of what's going on in another part of the world. What's happening is you're there, and then you raise your frequency back up and you're clearing the negative frequency. It's a seesaw that many of us light workers go through daily, by the way, when the shit's hitting the fan, like what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in the Congo, and people are connecting the dots, and people are feeling like they're being judged, and names are being called back and forth, and fingers are pointing back and forth. When you lower your frequency, you're going to hit that empathetic point. That's a soft spot. It's like the soft spot in a baby's head, right? It's very vulnerable, yes? But then, boom, you raise yourself back out of those shadows, and guess what you're doing? You're bringing up other people with you. It's remote healing power. And it's confusing to people because they feel in the spiritual community that should they deign to watch or get involved with what's going on, it's like putting your head in the sand and deciding, I'm high frequency. I'm like, that's arrogant. I'm sorry. And that's actually toxic. But there's a lot of that problem. So when you're empathetic like yourself and you want to protect yourself, know this. If you are in the dark night of the soul right now, I agree. It probably isn't a good time for you to get involved in that energy. I get it. And I'm not judging you. I get it. Because it'll bring you even lower into your energy where people self-harm. They're like, fuck it, I'm out. Fuck it, I hate this planet, I hate these people. So we don't want that to happen to any of you. However, those of you who've gone through the dark night of the soul, the spiritual inoculation has happened, to some level. I invite you to do your due diligence in raising the frequency and to become a light warrior or shamanic, a shamanic healer or whatever, high priestess, magician, whatever fits who you are. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm like I don't know if you're talking to me, but I'm like I'm just chiming in like yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean I say the same thing. I say the times when you're going through your dark night that is time for you to focus on you, and if you try to focus on others, it's going to the source is going to keep knocking you back to focus on you because we're no good to
Yeah.
people. We are no good to transmute energy when we cannot even do it within our own being. So I say, even when you've been through a portion of it, give what you can, but you remember this is the importance of listening to your mental health and listening to your body. If you feel overwhelmed with sadness, if you feel defeat in that moment, you need to recharge, and it's completely okay. It is what you're meant to do. We're no good unless we're recharged. Yes, as you ascend, you get a little better at recharging. It becomes more, it's a daily routine for me. It has to be. But you take a moment because you're not clear when you're full of and I call it trauma porn, which is just what we see everywhere and the sadness and whatever. And it is heartbreaking. And one part of your ascension is connection. When you begin to connect with others, you start to feel differently.
Yeah.
I've spoken to hunters who literally have felt conflicted, going out and hunting deer, and they never have in their entire life just because it's a life, and
Yeah.
so those parts are very good to feel and embrace and get used to but listen to yourself, listen to your body, and if you are in whatever stage of your awakening and it gets to a point where you are at a loss, I see so many, if you don't want, I always tell people you can reach out to me directly, you can definitely reach out to Tony. But I see people making videos about it. Yeah. And I've slid in people's DMs, y'all. I'm not even afraid to let them know you are okay. You are okay. This is hard. I know it's hard. You're going to get through it. And if you ever need to DM me and you ever want to talk, I'll do the best I can, or I'll find someone who can help you more. I know this sucks. I've been there, but you're doing great. Ask for help. Ask for guidance.
Yeah. Yeah. Jen, if you need support, we have a Discord and it has a suicide. I'm not kidding. It has depression, dark night of the soul, and suicide tabs in our Discord, which is on the link tree, which is on my profile. And it's there, and one of us will we'll connect with you, because honestly, we can't have the more people who harm themselves and literally jump out of this incarnation. It is the butterfly effect, believe it or not. That's why many of you are getting so tired, because you're feeling what's happening in the tragedies in Gaza and the West Bank and the Congo and the Sudan. And I don't know what happened to us, because we've all grown up with these wars, but every one of us is a journalist, because we have a phone and we can document. And so what has been going on for thousands of years, that's not flying right with any of us anymore. We're saying, no, that's enough. And that is very powerful, because that's part of the ascension, which then brings us back to twin flame and starseed ascension and connection with your twin flame, which connects also with some of your twin flames may have dropped their body purposely, if you know what I mean. I had a live with Jen yesterday on that. And walk-ins. There are people that are going to be walking into bodies that go, I'm done with my soul contract, but I'm jumping out. You can jump in and take over the rest of this incarnation. That is not a woohoo shit. That's been going on for hundreds of years, and there's documentations on that. Except, of course, most of them are called crazy. No kidding. But what I'm trying to say is that nothing is hopeless and nothing is over. And the agenda, and this is the scary part, okay? Because I had a conversation with my son, and he has two guides that are very powerful. One is got large blue eyes and bald and beautiful soul, right? He had a near-death experience. That was the first guide he ever met. The other guide is faceless, which is his subconscious, or his higher self, actually. And then there were three other faceless guides. I got them too. Some of these entities are coming in and they're malevolent. They don't want us to ascend. And some people are getting what they call downloads that are, no offense, bullshit. And I call bullshit, and I'll tell you why. Because it's not real. In terms of, it's real in that it is real, in that it really is happening. But the downloads are giving very negative timelines of the end of the world, or downloads that are ridiculous or impossible. And I know that. And again, I have a lot of psychic friends in my, thank God, in my circle. And I'll check in and going, is it me or is it, no, they're getting downloads too, that there are downloads that people are getting that are not real. So what I love about Jen is that she feels it in her body. When she gets, like when I do a reading for her, she'll feel it in her body. You got to feel it. Something is going to make you, yeah, goosebumps, or your heart will lighten, or all of that will come through. But don't believe in everything. Just because a person's got a sign above their head that says, I'm a psychic and I'm a channeler, and they just put the sign up a year ago or whatever, they just started, or even 10 years ago, or even 20. There are people who are getting very weird downloads that, like, I'm like, what the, it's got to be a negative entity. And sadly, because they're so, no offense, entrenched, because their vibration dropped. They didn't know how to come back out of the dropped vibration. So there are vessels to that, those messages, that they're not discerning the difference through their heart chakra, or however else. Some people, we all discern differently. Like Jen discerns with her body and her heart. Some people discern by just, it's an unspoken, they just know. So does that make sense what I'm saying?
I think it does. I actually like that you said that, because when you're in the process of ascension, we still have our own ability and our own mind and consciousness to manifest, or to put, and I say this, or to have a thought that, as we're learning between manifestation and downloads, which, if you're thinking on something and you're almost beginning to manifest on something, you may get a vivid vision of it and believe it was a download from source, when it's actually a self-manifestation vision of what you'd like, and that discernment of learning when these downloads happen, how your physical body responds to them. Because when there's self-manifestation, it's, in my opinion, they're usually just a nice, like, oh, it feels good. It's a little warm feeling, like, okay, I can see what I'm manifesting. When I've noticed, when it's a download, when it's something, I get ringing in my ears. I get a very strong ringing in my ears when it's something, my whole body, I can feel it. Like it's saying, this is it. And I like that you mentioned that we are going, and I talked about this on my Patreon. We are going to be seeing a lot more people in the spiritualist community, maybe speaking a little bit more grim about our future. And I will say that I do agree with what you're saying, that we are not, okay, there are other energies that do not want this to happen. They don't want us to become high vibrational. They don't want us to become aware. And so if we have, and I'm not knocking anyone who's getting these, I have also seen worst case scenario in this. I don't ever speak on it because I don't give any energy to the worst case scenario. And not just that, again, I believe that flooding your imagery and flooding what you believe to be your downloads could be very easily skewed, because it wants you to give up as a high vibrational being.
Yes, it does.
It wants you to throw in the towel. It wants you to go, you know what? This isn't going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. I'm not getting the results I want. People aren't responding. I don't feel optimistic that we're going to get out of this. So I might as well just be honest with people. And I believe that they believe they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But it gets hard when, and I empathize with people, because I know that they're receiving this attack because they're tired and they can't fight it off anymore. And that's, they have been working towards this. They've been maybe doing it for years. Right. And we're all getting attacked. We're all getting attacked from this. The higher vibrational you are, the more they're going to come for you, the more influence you have, the more you're offsetting low vibration. They want you to say, this isn't working. This isn't working. I'm not going to do it anymore. It's just going to end. And start to paint grim realities, into people's minds. And I think it's accidental, but nonetheless, I've said, as long as there is air in my lungs in this physical realm, right, I am not giving up, because I have seen also more clearly the positive, the new world and vision. And I know that to be clean and pure.
Yes. Amen. Yeah, I just got, somebody said, Shannon Martin said, I just got a Netflix notification, new series, Escaping Twin Flames. It's a fad, I guess now. Now, let me ask you guys this. Escaping Twin Flames is a backdoor to escaping Starseed, to escaping Ascension. Again, like I said before, not all of us have a twin flame incarnate at the same time. That's number one. But isn't that interesting how they don't want you to win? Escaping twin flames. I get comments all the time, people saying, "Oh, the so-called twin flame. I'm glad that shit's over with. That was toxic as hell." Yeah, no, but yes, it is toxic. We're all toxic, and we all need to purge. You know, it's funny how people sell parasite cleanses, right, for the body, but no one's talking about parasite cleanses of the soul, because it's almost like we're whales. You know, we're these beautiful, gorgeous creatures that are, and if you're not careful, these barnacles will attack you. It means you're at some point it gets to so much that it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy in turtles. It's unhealthy. It weighs you down. And so these barnacles on our bodies, on our souls, actually, soul's body, etheric body, or I would call are some scars in Sanskrit, which means impressions from past lives. And so the toxicity that happens when a twin flame comes in, and I'm bringing that up even though it's totally random, I wanted to read this comment from Shannon, is triggering so much fucking darkness that many of us are like the guy in the Matrix saying, I don't care if it's a fake steak, I don't care, give me the other pill, I want to forget, I just want to be rich and famous. There are people like that, and they want that. And unfortunately, we are going through a split, 5D, 3D, and 3D is going to be Mad Max. If you've ever watched Mad Max, watch it. Into the new earth. And many cynics, spiritual cynics as well, will say, yeah, the new earth, sure it will. They're saying things like the powers that be, in other words, the other light beings, you know, what do they call? I forgot what they're called, damn it. The ones that brought us here, the ones that genetically manufactured us, whatever, however, you know, created us. What I don't often hear is that we were those star seeds that created us as we are as humanoids. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what it's weird. We know we're star seeds, but we don't realize that as star seeds, we created some of this stuff. We created Atlantis, we created Lemuria, we created our own physical human species. We were part of that. The Sumerian texts talk about only like a handful of these powerful beings, but there were much more than just a few handful. There were civilizations on different planets and universes, right? And so when you have shows saying escaping twin flame, that's basically a show selling escaping ascension, because some of you are in twin flames and some of you think you're in a twin flame. Regardless, the end result, the ticket you want to get punched is the ascension ticket, and you want to get on that bullet train, and they don't want us to. Hence why they're. I hope that makes sense. I know I went around in circles, but I hope that makes sense.
I think it makes perfect sense, and I've seen some names of some extraterrestrial beings, and you're all right. The Pleiadians, the Anunnaki, you know, like. There's several, and you know, there's a big long story, and maybe one day on another live me into I can at least share the bit that I got on it, but it was many, it was many, and we're all hybrid of that and we all have this, and you know, this ability, but knowing that we had this ability was taken from us, and there's a whole reason why, you know, like that we couldn't come here and remember who we are and remember what we were meant to do. And I think that's what a lot of us are doing right as we speak. But it is okay. I'll say this, those that you see who are that are in that like halfway point when they are in their ascension, they get some, they notice, they remember some of their abilities. I always say remember, because you always have them. Okay. You always have them. You just forgot. So you remember that you have them, and they remember some of their abilities, and they start getting on, they start doing, you know, whatever they're doing. And I encourage, you know, I see these people on TikTok all the time giving these positive readings. And though I, you know, maybe don't think they're 100% energetically aligned, I think they're still good. They're giving people hope. If they feel that's for them, it connects, then it's for them.
That's a good point. Are you there?
It connects, then it's for them.
We're doing it again.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a good point. Are you there? Oh God, we did it again.
We're doing it
Jesus.
again. Oh my God.
They did it again.
Are you there? Oh God.
Hang on.
Okay. So, can you hear me? She's going to come back. Psychologists saying twin flame is only glamorized narcissistic relationships. Well, let me tell you something, Shannon. I have 3 clients, and all 3 of them are psychologists. So there you go on an answer. No. Can I jump in a box? Does that mean my bad time warp? Exactly. She's going to come back, I hope. But we've never had this problem. This is the weirdest thing, which, Shay, I love that we're having this problem because we've never had this problem before.
Yeah.
On the time loop, apparently there's some, I don't know, you guys, I want you guys to,
I would love to know what they're feeling about it, because I'm going to be 100%. And you know, I go live a lot. Okay. Yeah. I go live constantly. Like I really do. And I am going to be 100% honest with you. I have never had this issue.
Yeah.
I have never. And it's interesting how that loop continues. And I'm not, again, for me on my end, I have my stuff on airplane mode and no one's coming through, but it just seems to connect whenever something's being said. It keeps trying to repeat. So I'm curious what people are feeling.
Yeah, I would love to hear why you think this is happening. That we keep getting these weird echoing feedback looping, because I've never seen it too. Does anybody have a comment?
Let me put some grounding stones near the phone here, see if we can bring down the...
I'm saging with Palo Santo. Things are mirrors of our experience. Somebody's saying that, you know, they're narcissistic, that psychologists are saying it's limerence. Can we use the word obsession? I don't understand that word, limerence. I'm really a George Carlin fan, a huge George Carlin fan, because we are softening things. There's nothing wrong with obsession. I'm obsessed with the book I'm finishing up. I'm obsessed. Why? Stephen King once said, if you're not obsessed with what you've written, no one else will be. In other words, if what you're writing doesn't keep you up at night, it won't keep anyone else up at night. That's obsession, okay? There's nothing wrong with the word obsessive to win, obsession to get something. Limerence is too soft of a word, because let me tell you something, my dears. Limerence is not what people go through when they're obsessed with someone. There's obsessions like in Wuthering Heights with Heathcliff and Catherine. That's fucking obsession. Okay, that's not limerence. There's nothing soft about it. All right, limerence is a very beautiful word. It's actually quite pretty, but it's too pretty with how messy twin flame connections are. And twin flame connections aren't there to punish us, because many times we met our twin flames in passing in many incarnations, and we were never meant to be in union with them, ever. It was just in passing. Never heard this on any live, almost like a déjà vu, like we already did this before. Do you know Happy Transformation? No, I don't. No, but no, it's all good. Moderator blocked Toasty. Okay, do you know Happy Transformation? No, I don't. Anyway, any other comments? Because I know I've been channeling at 3 and 4 in the morning, can't stop typing. Fantastic. Fantastic, Water Bear medicine. That's wonderful. Deep shadow reflection to grow into our deepest connection self. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's happening with these weird looping is that it's showing, in my opinion, this is my humble opinion, that it's showing how time is definitely chronos. It's like definitely a collective agreement. And we're actually tripping up. We're actually, what's the word, Shay? We're actually...
I mean, it's never happened on a live, but I have electronics malfunction around me constantly. I have to ground them a lot. So from my understanding, it tends to happen for me. I've not had that in particular, but it tends to happen for me when I am speaking about something with another high vibrational being. If they are high vibrational, our frequencies together start disrupting everything in technology. I've had it happen with a few other gifted. I say gifted because I just mean like, I believe it's a gift, but you know, my definition of it, it's a gift for everybody. It's a collective for everyone.
Your definition is from a pure angle. When I hear
Yeah.
people say my gifts, I get really irritated because I know that there's an ego chained to that comment. Um, to me, it's a skill set. Is somebody a
Absolutely.
gifted painter? Yeah, then now that I'll say, yeah, a gifted brain surgeon. You're damn right. You know what I mean? All of that's a different. But
Yes.
with spirituality, all of us, every single one of us, have these skill sets. All of us, and some of us are more likely to do X, Y, and Z with a particular skill set. Say sound healing. Another person's going to do a channeling. Another person. There's some amazing channelers out there that have just started getting awoken. But what's nice about them is that they're the real deal. You know what I mean? In other words, some people are channeling. They think they're channeling, and they're not. And they're not. And some people channel, and usually when you channel, and I used to channel a lot, people who had crossed over, and I did not take a client on unless I could unless I could see what they had looked like in some capacity. Gray hair, red hair, a big smile, a swagger in the walk, an outfit, something. I had to see something. And if I saw it and they confirmed that that was the person we were connecting to, then I would go on with the reading. If not, I would let go of the client because then it was all bullshit. I was just, and that's another thing. It's a trick, you want to make sure. Sometimes, and I was talking to SHEA about this, when people suicide themselves, okay, and it's been a week or two since they suicided themselves, even 3 months, they don't come in. That you're not going to be able to, no one's going to channel them because for the most part, if this was a true, strong despair of self-loathing and which erupted into a suicide, they're not coming to channel through anyone. That's not happening.
No.
And what's happening is that quite often what happens is you might get a message from a messenger on the other side going, leave him alone. I've had that 3 times in my readings over the years. 3 times where literally there was a messenger in front of the person, sometimes a relative that I could confirm, oh yeah, is that, and the relative, yeah, leave them alone. They don't want to talk to you. This was too traumatic. This ending was too traumatic. And they don't come in. And what happens is you might
I've
get
never had one come in. And we talked about, I've never had, and I have had people come to me to channel, and this is just my experience. And I feel very blessed in my ability to channel, but as we know, it's hard. I have not personally I've had people come to me with asking to channel someone that had unalived themselves, or even, to be honest, just at one time was just because she was grieving still so badly that she, even though she wanted to, a part of her did, and I couldn't see this just yet, but I was not able to get much out of him because she was not ready to hear it.
right.
And that is also a part, but we don't often get a say in that. I tell people, I don't get to choose from source whether you are actually emotionally ready to hear something or to reach out. That isn't my choice. That is, and to me, I always, and I wanted to clarify just really quick on why I use the word gift. It's because it does not always feel like that. It does not always feel like a gift. And the thing about it is, I always tell people, this is not your power. It's not yours. This is collective. Everybody has it is this isn't mine. This is nothing about this is owned by me. I am not superior in any fashion, no, to anybody else. And I think that that construct coming into the spiritual world, which is meant to actually has always been against the indoctrination and hierarchy of religion. It's a slippery slope from people bringing that over. Maybe they've left a religion where that was the case and they're coming in and they're used to that. It just isn't the case. It just really isn't. There are levels of experiences and that's about it. Like none of us are better, but levels of experiences can make a world of difference when you're working with others and helping others.
Yeah, exactly. And ultimately, you've got to make sure, because again, people go and seek out, as soon as a person passes, especially they want to get some clarity. And the only time I've seen people come in right after, just so you know, is when someone's died of, a disease or an accident or even murder. Actually, I had a client whose son had been murdered, and it must have been a while before, um, he had passed, so he must have gone through the clearing, the stages. But he came in swaggering with these beautiful black eyebrows, shiny big eyebrows, and this gorgeous dark skin and this big bright smile. And he was just grinning and letting her know he was okay. And that was her son. He was 21. She said, the day he was born, I knew he was not going to be here for long. She knew. And he'd been shot in the back. So he had gone through that. And so when they die in other ways, like a accidental suicide, which we did a live with Jen and Beth, a couple days ago, that is different. It's an oh shit moment. It's like I didn't really mean it, and oh my God. And so they can also come back, depending on their situation, depending on what they're emotionally feeling. But for the most part, you know what I mean? When it's a clear up suicide, yeah, bang on, like all that despair and self-loathing and all that. Yeah, that's not coming through in 2 weeks. Okay, that's not happening. And because there's a lot, right? Don't you agree? There's a lot of stages they have to go through. And it's not because they're being punished. They're not in purgatory. Don't get me wrong. Let me clear that up. And I don't want anyone to assume anything like that. You're never punished. You're loved. You're cared for. You're taken care of. But you need rest. You don't need to explain to people who weren't listening to you, people who thought you were crazy. You need to not deal with those people right now. You need to deal with you.
I wholeheartly agree. I think that is, I have had, yes, in my experience, and from what I could grab, is that when somebody has been pushed to a place where they no longer feel they can navigate this world, this physical world, this realm, and they choose to leave it. They choose to leave it. There is a tremendous amount of perspective that we get. That we get very tiny at our highest ascensions here. We are only getting a sliver of the perspective of the truth that we will get when we leave this physical body. And so when you've done that, and you are to learn that perspective, there is a period of unlearning some things that made you feel that you were not strong enough, or that it was too much, or you were not meant for it. And it is not punishing. It is not cruel. It is actually, to the contrary, quite the opposite. It is relearning self with love. That's right. And then the perspective can come, but it's much too difficult when somebody leaves it intentionally, because of whatever their reason may be, and they just kind of go into a place that is, I mean, my experience, it's been very beautiful. It's been a place for them to rest and love themselves before they receive the perspective. And then once they have learned to love themselves, this is because I have spoken to people who have done that. Once they've learned to love themselves and they've gotten the perspective and the understanding, then and only then, in my experience, have they come forth, and they are a bright soul. They are not they are who they always were in their core here, but they've learned to connect that physical realm existence with that pure soul that they have.
Yeah, I remember I committed suicide in the 1800s, early 1800s in France, and I was pregnant. I was 7 months pregnant. And I didn't know that had happened to me until literally 10 years after. But at the age of 37, I was pregnant with my son. At around that same time, I started having a lot of depression and anxiety and flashes of, because I had hung myself apparently in that life. And I remember when I started putting all this is how downloads come. This is how knowledge of past lives come. They come later. They come in, it doesn't come in a timeline you would recognize. And suddenly I put those two together and go, holy shit, I was able to navigate a somatic memory of something I would not learn until 10 years after my son was born, to realize, holy shit, I was able to navigate out of it. I was 37, pregnant in this incarnation. I was 27 when I committed. It was weird. So what I can tell you is that what I remember in the death throes and all of, I'm not going to get graphic, but the point is, in remembering that past life, I remember I was not, I wasn't ready to, start analyzing and start, coming in and talk to people and all, and explain myself to anyone. Not to mention, there was a lot of betrayal that pushed that incarnation to that end. You know what I mean? So most of us, sadly, I had to say that, have actually gone through that process in one incarnation or another, right, Shay? Wouldn't you say most of us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the basis of where I believe what I believe, why I believe what I believe. It aligns with when the times I've tried to channel people, and it also aligns with what I was seen to, because just not being able to channel someone, you can go all over with your mind on why that is, but excuse me, but the truth is the reason that and you and I spoke about this and we shared the same idea is because I remember I at one point in one of my lives had experienced it. It's at one point, and I'm not quite sure. I'm like, they go somewhere to, basically rest, to heal, to learn to love themselves. And to be honest, it kind of, what I've gathered is that it almost doesn't skip a beat. They don't really know. From what I've seen, it's almost as if they wake up with no memory of it, and they go into a world where things are different, and they improve, and they, they learn to love themselves, and they learn that it wasn't their fault. And I think that that's the guilt. The guilt. I say this a lot. Guilt is one of the worst. It will keep entities stagnant. Guilt, and the guilt that many of them feel. If they chose to, it can feel insurmountable. That's often what brought them to the place in this realm where they left, is guilt, or shame, or worthlessness, or exhaustion. I mean, any number of things. But to kind of, when you take that type of action into your hands, if you were able to just see on top of the guilt you felt, and I'm saying this and I want to be very sensitive and everything, but if you were able to just see maybe the pain, how many people actually did love you, and it wouldn't help your spiritual journey once you'd already left the realm, to know that, well, you were loved and it did hurt people. That would just add more guilt, to you and your consciousness. So they go somewhere until they spiritually are ready to accept what had happened, and by then they're back to their old soul, and I say their old soul, I mean their old soul. Maybe they were never a happy person, maybe they were never meant to be a happy person, their soul always knew what they were meant to do when they dropped into this realm.
So that's why when people are 3D, this is why you guys are lucky, because you already have a spiritual anchor, right? And that spiritual anchor can keep you in the straight and narrow, meaning you can actually survive this and thrive, literally thrive from this. Whereas people that are in 3D, the conversation of talking someone off the ledge is going to have to be much more sensitive and much gentler, and much how do I say, it's a whole different conversation. And it can't be anchored on any religious dogma. It can't be on anything. Most people, I've noticed, especially people in pain, are very loving. That's why they're hurting. They're very loving. They're overgiving. They're, whatever. And so those people, even if they're 3D, you've got to give them a purpose, especially the masculine, because the masculine needs to know there's a plan. And the masculine, if it doesn't have a plan, needs to get a plan. And most people, I love that about us as human beings, is we want to help. Yeah, there are a few assholes out there. In fact, there's a lot of them in the infrastructure we now have to deal with. A lot of them are there. And the irony is, many of you who are so beautiful and humble, you're humble, but you would give your shirt, your shoes, whatever, to someone who had nothing. Many of you have that consciousness already embodied within who you are, in many incarnations, by the way. And even if that person is a 3D, they have these beautiful aspects within themselves of, like, they can't find reason to go on. And so the conversation has to be a plan. So I had one gentleman who was really down in the dumps, and VA. In fact, I'm going to call him this week. I have to call him and check on him, make sure he's okay still. And he was a VA, went to Iraq, Afghanistan. You can imagine the shit show in his head and in his heart. And I said, you need to support other men. And that really infused a lot of light in him, because now he could be of service to other men who were going to the VA, who probably weren't getting the right, kind of support they needed, if you know what I'm saying, especially for an awakening like that. He is of the generation like Ben Stewart. I don't know if you guys know who Ben Stewart is, who was also out of Afghanistan and Iraq and came out of it with PTSD, and started doing medicine, ayahuasca, bufo, San Pedro, psilocybin. By the way, they're using psilocybin for a lot of war vets, but I don't know if you guys know that. It's been legalized in some sectors with psychiatrists and so forth. I don't know if you guys know that. But anyway, Ben Stewart did a couple shows. Climatica was one, a documentary. But the second series of shows he did on Gaia is called Psychedelia. And he had to find a purpose. And his purpose was to take his iPhone and start doing videos and mixing them and creating a dialogue about the pain he had gone through and the sense of it to help the collective, which it did. It does. So when someone is on the brink, of calling it quits, most likely they don't know, there's nothing left. There's no hope. There's no mountain to climb anymore. They don't see their value anymore. And our job is to make sure they see their value. That's probably the most important gift you can give somebody who doesn't see their own worth, and how important their experiences are to the collective healing and dialogue, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that you said that. I love that. I say that a lot. A lot of people who get pushed to that point, it's not only that and this has been my experience, and I have lost people. I've lost very kind people and very good people to that. And what I know is that when we struggle, we already have our own personal daily life obstacles, hiccups, rejection, fears, traumas, everything. And when you factor in somebody's empathetic sense, their empathy for others, they're then, it then gets harder for them to.
Oh God, we just.
Oh God.
Okay.
It's doing it.
We just.
Oh God. Oh, it's.
Okay.
Wow.
It's doing it. Oh my God.
Every time.
When it gets heavy and true. She's gonna come back, guys. Don't worry. Coming into my own self-love is linked to what I contribute. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So Water Bear Medicine said, coming into my own self-love is linked to what I contribute. That is exactly it. And what happens to the masculine in particular, non-gender specific, is exactly what happens. When the masculine no longer feels like there's a plan, because that's one of the gifts of the masculine, is that they always have a plan. They always they're doers. They're creators in the material world. Once there's an end to that, they see themselves as encumbrances. You know what I mean? They see themselves as not being they're not valuable anymore. And too much energy. God, I hope she comes back in. What the bloody hell? But I can tell you that no matter what happens on this live, I'm really happy she came here to do this live. I'm hoping she can jump back on. But if not, I'm going to tell you something. She's an amazing life force. And Nick Cage's stunt double is how you can look for her. There she is. And please follow her. She is such a fucking powerhouse. She's such a beautiful soul. And she's gone through a lot. And she embodies. Do you mind if I say that?
Please go ahead. To me, I am like, at this point, I'm almost like, just enjoy the show, guys. This is just.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I was going to say that Nick SHEA is this incredible light that is, she embodies the soul, our true souls, which is the balance between the masculine and the feminine. It's a beautiful energy. And I remember when I first saw her, I came across one of her videos, and I saw her eyes, and I went, "Oh my God!" Like I knew, and I just knew, which is, which it was funny too, because she knew me by my voice. I knew her by her eyes. And at some point, I'll start doing lives once I feel more comfortable, to be honest with you. I think I'd rather do Zooms, to be honest with you, where I know that I'm putting myself out there in front of people who walk beside me, not behind me with swords drawn. I'm funny. Right now, I'm staging Palo Santo, just so you know. So I'm really funny about, so again, I know some of you guys want to see my face every time. I'm always getting asked that. And so it would, what I'm saying about, SHEA being live and I get to see her eyes, I could see some of you guys asking that, well, when the fuck aren't you doing it? And I don't know, to be there. I do know actually, but, and I'm not going to bore us with the details as why, but I will say this. I met her like that. And many of my clients, I recognize them with their voice, like Jen, like Tony's soft voice, like Jen's energetic voice and power. She's just a powerhouse. And many of you out there, I just felt connected. I can tell by the voice when it's not going to be a fit. I just can tell. And as I proceed with, because I vet all my clients. I don't just say, I could have like a Calandria, and I could have you guys paying and just whatever. And I need to connect with you guys before I take you on as clients, because I want to make sure I'm the right person for you. And when I met SHEA, I was like, yes. Right. I said, I love this soul. I don't know who she is, but I know I've known her, just with Jen and all of you.
We spoke for we got on and I love that you said that, because it was very instant for me too. And at the time when you had reached out, I had a few other, I was, kind of really get myself out there, really, and I'm pretty shielded with my energy. I knew very well what I was getting myself into. So I'm very careful with who I connect with personally. And instantly I was like, yes, I heard your voice. I was like, nope, that's we're aligned. That's one of my people. And I remember we got on the phone and we spoke. I think we spoke for
hours.
A while. Yeah, it was a couple hours. And it was, literally, I think we mentioned it several times, like, this is so great. It literally, I've known you for so long. Like, it was like, we were just talking, and it is such a wonderful feeling when you meet someone you're aligned with. It really is a familiar feeling that is unique in a way you cannot describe. And I just adore you. And I'm so happy that you feel the same way.
Yeah, of course. Are you kidding? So ultimately, what do you think is the shows, like Shannon mentioned, how to get away from your twin flame? There are like, supposed spiritualists talking about the end of the world. There are people talking about twin flames being fake, though it's been talked about for thousands of years, and there's documentation with Plato, and I'm sure it goes beyond that, but let's just go with Plato, because that's the most, I think it's the earliest recording of the twin flame, twin soul concept. So why would someone like Plato make that shit up? The guy was a philosopher. He sat around, he wasn't kicking rocks. He wasn't a fisherman. He didn't have to go into the salt mines. The man had time, and he taught. So why would he come up with that if it was fake? So what is the agenda to say that it's fake? Is it and then to come up with these little funny words, limerence, and kind of like burying your faith in your own intuitive powers to know that this person is important. Just because me and SHEA connect, she's not my twin flame, but we recognize each other. And there will be people along the way. They will be your tribe members, your lost tribe members. And the gathering is happening. I've talked about the Starseed gathering is happening. So what happens if you don't believe in your twin flame? You're not going to believe in other connections. That will be spontaneous knowing. I call it the unspoken knowing. So what do you think is the agenda? I'd love to hear Shay talk about it, and then I'd like you guys to comment, and I'll read your comments after Shay has finished.
The agenda with discrediting the twin flame journey.
Or the twin flame journey, and how it actually trickles down the line on discredit. And once a person doesn't believe in their twin flame journey, once they realize that because
by design it's meant to be believed. Because if you didn't, your chances of, so this is, it's so crazy. So I want to just preface this with my all-time favorite movie and weirdly enough, it's a musical and I don't normally watch those, but it's called Hedwig and the Angry Inch. And I recommend anybody watch it. And it's not about the twin flame journey necessarily, but it absolutely 100% is. And you'd have to watch it to see it. The entire storyline is about this, and he references the Greek mythology that the twin flame, was sourced from long ago. And the thing that I would guess is because the people that I see discrediting the twin flame journey, and I say this with love, and this is just who I've seen. This is not maybe everyone's thought. Maybe they did believe in it and it didn't work out a certain way and now they don't, or maybe they just never did. But one thing I noticed is it tends to be when they discredit it, the words that they're using to discredit it are kind of painting it in a toxic way. And then by almost saying that if things aren't always positive, always high vibrational, always bringing forth, happiness and never yearning, then it's not good, and push it away. And then that goes into the toxic positivity. And I share with people, I'm like, if somebody is, and there's a lot of people who just, all they want to do is feel the good and the, 100%, like you're never truly going to feel the good because you have not felt the pain. And when you, because, I talk about this a lot, like when the expansion of your trauma bandwidth and your pain bandwidth expands your bandwidth for love. And the twin flame journey reflects that. And while I don't agree with, anybody saying I don't agree with anyone being in anything that's toxic for them, but that is what I've heard. And I'm like, well, on the same note though, the reconnection with that struggle would make you, and with practical thought, with spiritual, literally when you believe in this, when you believe that if your ability to experience pain and navigate and get through it will expand, and I speak firsthand, your ability to love unconditionally and love greatly and love beautifully, why wouldn't the twin flame be exactly that? But it does require, from what I've seen, there is parts of it that aren't always the good feelings. And that is, I see a lot of the toxic positivity people who knock it out because there can be struggle within the journey. That's what I've seen. So I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong, but everyone I've seen, it tends to fall along the lines of, oh, if it's not serving you, push it away. Well,
exactly. But then again, you push everyone away because honestly, I've had teachers that were toxic. I've had my parents. I love them, but they were toxic. I have some toxicity. There's no doubt because I'm a human being. I'm having the human experience through a 3D filter, which I'm constantly trying to, bash on the head, called the monkey mind. So if we can just, and many of us kindly call toxicity within ourselves our shadows, because we want to package it beautifully, but it's toxicity with the word shadows. And so those shadows, which are toxic, we just need to just fucking recognize them so that we can manage them. It's just, there's nothing wrong with us ultimately on the aspect of being toxic. It's one of the reasons why we came into these incarnations, to really give ourselves handicaps, real ones, because when we go into other planets, the kind of handicaps we have in 3D aren't there because we're in 5D, 6D, different dimensions and planets. And I'm not saying we don't have little issues, but they're not so intense as they are. They're magnified in 3D. Do you understand? Because of our 3D brains. Because when you're a woman or a man, gender specific now, there are hormones attached to it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's real. A man's hormonal brain, right? The way his brain is going to work is not the way a woman's brain. I used to totally fight against that. I remember that because I felt like we're androgynous souls. Yes, we are. But through the filtering of the mechanics, the biology of the hormones eliciting different things in the brain, we're fighting these things. It's one of the things that challenges. So it makes us toxic. And so, like, for when a woman's going through menopause, as I have, yeah, you're gonna fucking act up a certain way. There's nothing wrong about admitting to it.
No,
But
it's our body. I mean, and that's a part of being in the physical form. I love that you said that. I share this a lot because when I speak to men and I speak to women, I know their biology is working against them in certain ways, but their indoctrination is really what's working against them. And, you know, I always tell people your divine masculine is not a violent, you know, the masculine, testosterone even, does not make you violent. It makes you act. And so if you are mirrored in violence, you will act in what you are surrounded with prematurely. And that is, you know, and I say that like, if you were to have, you know, just the testosterone, just what it makes you do, just what you're fighting against. But it doesn't necessarily, if we had a world where people were acting, you know, whatever type of way, testosterone wouldn't necessarily have ever been associated with violent behavior. It's acting without the pause. And you know, I'd say the feminine is the pause, and we need to work on putting things into motion. That's our counter. You know, that is the yin and the yang, so to speak, to reach that divine, is to have the pause and the action, which is, you know, but our biology works against us. That is a test. That is a challenge. Our indoctrination, many don't realize how indoctrinated we are. You know, we can beat out the biology a little bit easier, believe it or not, in my opinion, than we can unlearn the indoctrination, the fear of being a man who shows an emotion in front of other men and the ridicule he may face, or a woman being too tough, too strong, too, you know, whatever, not being feminine or appealing. That's indoctrination. That's not your biology. Men have feelings. You cry. You do. That's indoctrination that made you feel you couldn't. Women, you have hands. If you have able bodies, you can do things that men can do. And the indoctrination says that you shouldn't, because, you know, men won't like that. But it's very deeply rooted. It takes a second to heal. But there is absolutely nothing wrong with us, you know, using what our biology is, you know, has us be, or has us behave like, to our advantage for the greater good. To counterbalance things, instead of viewing it as something we need to rid ourselves of. We're not going to rid ourselves completely of the biology. It is in our biology. We can just navigate it and use it and transmute it into something different. And that feels much better than trying to stuff it down and smile through it. When you're not okay, it's okay to not be okay. It is okay, you know?
yeah, I agree with that. I think and thank you for bringing up the indoctrination, because as you were saying that, I remember I had a friend who read one of my books, right? She read it, and in the book, elicited dreams of hers being Chinese and having her feet bound. I don't know if you guys know how feet binding works, but usually they break the feet, they bend them down. Anyway, she had multiple levels of anxiety in that incarnation as a Chinese woman with bound feet, because enemies were coming and she couldn't even walk, much less run. And she was a dancer in this incarnation, and something had happened to her where she collapsed and could not walk, and there was no reason for it. It was a somatic memory from that past life of anxiety. And for whatever reason, when she read what I had given her to read, it was just, you know, no big deal. But anyway, she read that and elicited an activation of that past life, which got her into healing, which got her to India, where she was studying certain types of, dancing. Can you imagine? So even the indoctrination of these incarnations that you embody today, what me embody, we're also sifting through these incarnations they're planted, that their barnacles are on our bodies, some scars from those past lives. And the reason why this ascension timeline, which we had the oracle card reading just earlier in this live, is so important, is for you to allow those downloads to come. In other words, accept what comes. You may be walking with a friend. This actually happened to me one day. I was walking with my girlfriend, turned around to my left, and suddenly I was a young man. It was Florence. I'll never forget. Florence, Italy. It's either I think it's the 16th century. She's wearing a velvet jaunty cap with ginger hair. That was it. Why was that? Why the download? Why that download? Well, because she was a painter in this life. She was a painter in that life, and I was her patron. I was a rich young man. And in this life, I was her patron. Still, I was her, her advocate as a painter, to advocate for her painting, to really support her so that she wouldn't feel lost and not seen as a painter. The woman's brilliant. But what I'm saying to you is, you will and this was a snapshot download. So that download confirmed the connection that I had with this woman, my best friend, right? One of my best friends. So what I'm trying to say to you, there will be negative downloads as well. And the trick is not to throw it away. Invite it in so that you can see how it connects. Remember, the woman was a dancer in this incarnation. Boom, Chinese bound feet, multiple anxieties, fear, not being able to run, to protect yourself. So that is indoctrination. Wouldn't you say that is in some levels?
Oh, absolutely. I think I love, see, I just love you. I love the way you shared that. I actually wanted to share just briefly, and it's interesting we're talking about this. I had been getting some visions of a past life that I had had, and I don't get them a ton. I get them when they're necessary, and for whatever reason, and I never know why. But I had one the other night that linked with one I had had, and I was a male. Okay, I was a guy, and I was. I don't know what year. To me, it felt like it would have been the first one when I was an adult, and I saw my reflection in the door, and I knew I was a guy, and I. Incidentally was a builder or a iron or woodworker, and which is what I do now, which is funny. But and I saw my reflection. I was a bigger, a large man. Well, what's interesting is I knew that I wasn't maybe the best guy, as a whole. However, I didn't know why I was shown that, and but I did take note of it and I did write it down. Well, as I was having all these discussions on my live about the new world and what it needs to look like and what. In my mind, what would best serve, what are we seeing right now? What is the cause of all of this oppression, and how do we counter it? Like the polar opposite of this. And I got a vision of the earlier, when I was a baby in that same incarnation that I had as that guy that I saw. And what I saw, I didn't realize it was this. I didn't realize it was the same person. I didn't know why I was seeing this, but I was laying down, or I was being held by a woman who was singing to me, and she was a black woman. And I remember it's still. I'm gonna get a little bit of chills, and because it still kind of just vibrates through me, the feeling I got. So I could see her, and I was a baby, and I had the warmest feelings of a mother connection. Okay, and she was singing to me. We were on a porch. She had a blue shirt on, or a dress. It was just, so I got these very warm feelings, and what ended up happening was I just remember feeling so held and so comforted and just so loved. And I remember enjoying that, but I caught a glimpse of my foot as it kicked up, and my foot was white, and this woman was African American. Yeah. And as I was being pulled out of the vision, I got a better glimpse of the house, and I got a better glimpse of the timeline, and I realized that this was the baby version of the man that I saw that I was at one point, and this woman was worked for my family. And what's interesting is the feeling that I got in the first one was that this particular person struggled a lot because he had a lot of issues with his own mother. Mm-hmm. And so what's wild is I wrote that down, and then I had this vision where I felt this warmth, and I associated this woman with my mother. But as I, perspective, and as I was pulled away, I'm like, she wasn't my mother. She worked for my family. So God knows how I've yet to see what my mother was actually like in that incarnation, but I can imagine, because that was what I was shown, that was the feeling and the connection. So there was something that happened. And I thought to myself, in connection with everything I said, because I think it was a few nights earlier, I had said, the earth and everybody in it just needs a big hug from like a mom figure, like the best mom figure you can imagine. We need a hug. Mother Nature needs a mother right now. Like, this is the world run by, and I say the toxic masculine, which is which it isn't all men, just to be clear, but right now what we're seeing is the toxic masculine. And I say that saying that this is the masculine that acts without embracing the divine feminine, which is not to consider, not to think, but it was interesting, the alignment between having that conversation and saying, we want the polar opposite of this. We want a big hug. And I get this vision where I think it was the warmest feeling. And I was like, oh my God. And then in my head, I said, I just think that Black women need to be in office because they've suffered the most oppression. They'll be the best to know how to navigate away from it. I still kind of believe that, but I just found it interesting the way the universe, after I'd said that, sources like, oh, you want a little hint as to maybe why you had mixed feelings about the guy you saw. Here's something that he felt, and he did not have good parents. Like, this woman was the connection for him, and I'm not sure what happened. We'll see, but it was a wonderful feeling. I wish I could pass it to everybody. Just the feeling was,
That's beautiful. I was going to ask, so there's some questions here. We're going to get to it. So Water Bearer, I want to answer one question first, but Water Bearer is first. So I'm just going to read it and then I'll read it again. Can you talk a bit about karmic connections versus twin flames? So we're going to answer that. But listen to this. Cash Mommy says, is it possible to still look like yourself in a past life? I look pretty much the same. So I personally, but you answer. You want to answer first and I'll tell you what I feel? So the question again is it possible to still look like yourself in a past life? I look pretty much the same.
Oh, I totally looked like me, but male. Like, it's, I don't know how you feel about it. Everyone that I've seen, I did resemble myself. Different hair and different, outfits and different, I don't know, styles. You'd be shocked. I mean, you slap a wig on me and whatever. I mean, I don't know. I could be a very pretty girl, I imagine. It's amazing what that can do. But everyone I've seen, I have looked like myself mostly. But that's not true. I've had other ones. I've had ones where I was different races, but something about me felt, I don't know. This is going to sound weird. I'm sure I'm not going to have that way to articulate it. Something about everyone that I saw, even when I was different races and different genders and everything, I knew I still felt like I looked like me. And maybe that's just because we all feel that way when we look at ourselves.
I think it's interesting you said that. I think that I've done an exercise. I'll give you two aspects to it. I think it's possible in some aspects, but not really. What I'm saying to you is that the features are different, but what makes the features emanate an energy that feels familiar, also definitely through the eyes, that's why I recognize you through the eyes, is the soul. So that you'll see someone, if you guys have ever seen Where Dreams oh god damn, what's the movie's name again? Well, no, it's Robin Williams movie. Where Dreams May Come. Where Dreams May Come, he doesn't recognize his son because his son is embodied in, Cuba Gooding Jr., who's an African American. And so he doesn't recognize it because he's still, I don't know, in some weird consciousness. But typically, when you incarnate in different bodies, there's something that'll come through that's very similar to your eyes. I've noticed that. But your features will be different. And in some cases, you are different races, and whatever makes you feels or maybe looks, might move the features in such a way that it looks similar to what you have now or what you had in the past. That's what I've noticed in my own, because I've seen, you guys, I don't know if you guys have ever done that, but you can actually put a candle in front of your face and make sure that your bathroom, usually that's where you would go because that's where there's a big mirror, hopefully in your case. And you go in front of your mirror with a candle under your face and you make sure it's all blackened. It's got to be pure black. And then if you do the right exercise, you can stare into your eyes and your face will start changing. And you'll actually get to see very fast, super fast, your incarnations as a man, as a woman, as a child, blah, blah, blah. It's just boom, 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 boom. The eyes don't change really that much. So that's my answer on that.
Mine was all the eyes. I've had the same eyes. I love that you said that. Thank you. My eyes were always what I could recognize. That would be the one thing, everything. And that's usually what others recognize with me is the eyes, which makes sense.
And then Water Bear said, tell me the difference between a twin flame and a karmic. A karmic is a word I don't like because we're all karmics. But for the purpose of this question, because of course we are using that word for a particular reason. And what it means is this concept of the false twin flame, a fake twin flame with obsession. And the obsession of unrequited love, or the obsession, I'm sorry about my cat, the obsession of whatever, like sexual obsession and so on, which is revisited again and again and again, okay? And so this looping can be, see, this is it, and I'll tell you the difference in a minute, but can be with a twin flame, can be with a high level soulmate, and can be with a soul mate, tribe member. But the concept of a karmic, somebody who's not even connected as a soul family, right? And it's an unresolved lesson. It's unfinished business. It's a situation where if you don't get it straight and understand what this is and you resolve it within yourself, you don't have to resolve it with them, within yourself. The bond that keeps looping you into these incarnations, karmic incarnations, like I said, unfinished business, you know what I mean? And it could be anything. It could be with your mother. It could be with a lover. It could be with anyone. Once you get the lesson and you've forgiven them, you let go, it's done. They will be brought, if they don't get the lesson themselves, that karmic, right? If they don't get it also themselves in this incarnation, in the next incarnation, it will be someone else. They replay that role, if you know what I'm saying. Does that make sense so far?
It does to me. I'm listening to you. Yeah. I don't know if you're asking them, or you're probably asking everyone, but I'm like, yeah, it does me.
Yeah, the repeated pattern until a lesson is learned. Yes, and it's repeated in lifetimes after lifetimes. Like one of the incarnations I had, I met a man, I'm just going to say, and at that point, for whatever reason, there was a lot of reasons, my husband and I were in a celibate marriage, which is very common, sadly. And I was dead as a woman. I was, something inside of me as a woman and sexuality and creativity was dead. And then I had a heart attack, which is usually it's a tower moment. And that was the beginning. Lost weight, got in a really super shape, and met a man. We never became lovers, but there was a connection. It was definitely a connection. There was no doubt. He felt it, I felt it. But I was like, yeah, there's something wrong here. Because I knew. I don't know how I knew. It was not a twin flame, by the way. Many of you would have thought, oh, that's a twin. No, it wasn't a twin flame. I went to the hypnotherapist. I said, I need to fucking find out what the hell this is, because there's a lot more to this than, okay? And I did the hypnotherapy, and I mentioned in many lives, in 4 incarnations, there were 3 suicides. And one of them was the one I mentioned earlier in this live, where I was pregnant, okay, with his child, by the way. And once I realized what that was, it was like all bets off, done. And I could feel the chain, the karmic chain break. And then he went on to marry someone else and chilling with someone else. And I'm so glad I never had sex with this person, because it would have been fucked. Okay, I would have re-looped myself back into a new karmic story with this person. That's why sometimes when you meet someone, right, and you feel this incredible attraction and this sexual attraction, but there's something wrong. There's like this little thing niggling at you. Pay attention to that, because it's not a small thing. That's why I became a hypnotherapist, because as I processed a lot of things through hypnotherapy, I decided to become one because I realized how important, like I've done talk therapy too, so don't get me wrong, but years of talk therapy, I could do in 1 hour, 2 hour session. I could get like maybe a year of bullshit out of me in like a session. So that for them, I didn't need to know, oh, you have to connect. Well, how does he make you feel? I knew how he made me feel. I desired him. He desired me. But that's not the question I wanted to ask. What in the fuck is this? And once I realized what it was, it hurt. Don't get me wrong. There was that, oh my God, the longing, I wish but I can't. I've got to live. I can't re-loop into this hamster wheel to nowhere. And that was more important to me than the sex and the connection and to go, well, maybe this time it'll be, but no, I knew. And that's what I mean by looking at your shadows. That's shadow work right there. It's like, okay, I know I want this person, but does that help you guys on the concept of karmic?
Trauma I love that definition, Tony. That was such a great, I get asked about karmic connections all the time. I love the way that you explain that.
Yeah. I was told my supposed twin and I look alike. That's not true. My twin and I don't look at all alike. We're so not looking, we don't look alike at all. In fact, one of the things about twin flames is you'll see that there's an age difference that's crazy. There's racial differences. There are all kinds of differences. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to bore you with the details. You kind of have, no. That's more likely to happen, honestly, when twins look alike, are twin rays. Now, I could see that happening with twin rays, actually, believe it or not, but not twin flames. Because the whole point of it is we're completely the opposite of each other for this incredible trials and tribulations, apocalyptic self-realization. And the different races, like one person's white and another person's God knows or one person's Hindu, right? And the other person's Japanese and black, that kind of that happens a lot more than you think. And that right there would create apocalyptic self-realizations with not only the twins flames, but also the families, right? Oh my God, you must marry a girl from your country, right? You must marry your own people. That's going to happen a lot. Any questions? Twin race. No, I didn't say twin race. Twin rays, twin rays. Yes. Sorry, I didn't say it correctly. Twin ray, like a ray of sunshine. Our eyes match. Oh, beautiful. That's cool. Well, me and my twin both have hazel eyes, except his are more green. I'd say that. But so did my high-level soulmate. My husband had beautiful, gorgeous, emerald green, hazily eyes. So, me and my twin, age difference, completely different backgrounds. Yeah, there you go. And that is a problem. Stop it. My eyes are hazel. Yeah, I know. It's funny, isn't it? Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of... Anyway, so tell me, SHEA, what else anything else you have to ask for SHEA? Because she is a fountain of knowledge. She is the real deal. She is the real deal, okay? And I hope you follow her because you're going to get different angles of what this journey as starseeds and twin flames are about, which you probably need to hear. I would have never thought I would be interested in a different background. I only was attracted to Indian. I get you. My twin and I look like brother and sister. Yeah, it's possible, but that's not the reality. So happy to be here with you. Just what I need, always on time. Oh, that's wonderful, Canary. I'm going to go ahead and...
I love reading these comments. And yes, thank you, Tony, for that, because I am going to jump off here in a sec. But
okay,
if you want, if you want to follow me, having known what I've shared with you, you can see what some of that looks like. But to that point, I think I have a lot of star seeds who come into my lives, and I can feel them putting, giving protective energy and everything, and I love it. But they know, they know what I'm doing, and they know one aspect of it, and like of this, and I'm not alone. There are others like us that are doing this work, and we're aware of what we're meant to do and who we are. But I personally love looking into a glimpse of everyone's, if they're aware of their highest purpose, their highest self, of what they're meant to do in this realm to contribute. If they're aware of it, I love looking and watching how people navigate it. You know, I enjoy it. I can feel their energy. I can feel their intent. Even when they're, you know, doing whatever they're doing, I can feel that their intention is pure, and it's just a wonderful thing to behold. So anybody's welcome to join. But I did want to say something really quick, because I noticed that there was somebody in the comments that that was that their name was the Water Bearer, and
Yeah.
so I shared this, and this is a little bit off subject, but I think it's a nice thing to think on. I've been seeing a lot of TikToks on, you know, the spiritual talk or whatever, of people saying things along the lines of like, what if God was water? Okay. And I meditated on that, because I started to get possibilities. I'm like, well, we're water and light frequency, and water responds to frequency and its molecules, and water is in everyone, and it's above us, it's below us, it's in the air we breathe. We need it to live. I mean, and everybody gets it, and nobody has more water in their body than the other, hypothetically, you know. I mean, but I had this really great meditation, and I encouraged my Patreon members to do it as well. But I also thought, now think of this. Once you go through that meditation, once you think on like, what if God was water? And that's not mine, by the way. I saw it on a video, but it was wonderful to meditate on, because the possibilities of how we should view God or source or whatever we call it, it's just really fun to dance with, especially if you've read the Messages in Water, the book, The Messages in Water. It's really neat.
Moto or another one?
I think it is. Yeah, there was a few different ones. It was the monks initially who were doing it, and you know, and if you're unfamiliar, they were taking water and they were doing Buddhist. You know, these Buddhist monks were chanting and saying these beautiful things, and they would, you know, capture the water, and the molecules would form in these beautiful, intricate, like snowflake designs. And if it was, and what's interesting is people do this with plants too. And I'm like, but think about it. The water, and I've done this several times, I thank my water before I drink it all the time for nourishing me. And I've been in that habit for a good minute. And you can see the water move. You can see bubbles start to form. And I'm telling you, this is, if you put the energy in there. So when people do that with their plants, I almost wondered, I'm like, I wonder if that is the response that the water is having, because the water is transmuting it, is feeding it. And the water is having negative frequencies brought into it. One of them, you know, and the other one's having positive frequencies. So the life force for one plant is a positive frequency, you know, being, you know, and the other one is a negative. If you know what I'm, you know, speaking on it. The plant, you know, people are like, I said I love you to this plant and I hate you to this one, and this one grew well. So I always say, I wonder if it is the water being fed to the plant with those hateful words and those positive words, much like our body responds to those frequencies. Having said that, after you've meditated on it, think on, just briefly, that we are coming into the age of Aquarius. And I myself am an Aquarius, which happens to be the water bearer. And if I think about it, and I've shared this with people, I think, look, when you see the water bearer, when you see that constellation, when you actually see it drawn out, you don't think that this person's holding this water because he's got it tilted, you know, it's tipped. He's not holding this water for himself or telling people what that water is and who's allowed to have it. He's releasing it. He's pouring it. And I've always, long before thinking on this, I'm like, I don't have, to me, I think he's showering the cosmos with it, you know? And I imagine, I'm like, this could be that kind of interesting paradigm that I've been connecting, that whatever we believe to be God, whatever we believe to be source, is being showered all over us, you know? Should we choose to give it the frequency, the positive words?
Yeah.
And this age of Aquarius, which is the age of I know, happens to be the water bearer. And a lot of spiritual people are questioning the existence of God to be found in water. And I think it's a very minimum, a very enjoyable thing to just kind of think on going into the age of Aquarius with the water bearer. giving the water to all.
I think that's beautiful. But it also, as you were saying that, I got the energy because it was I'll preface, let me just get right to it. The aspect of sound frequency from whales and dolphins, and how their frequency helps the water. Somehow they're still surviving what we do to the oceans. And yet their frequency transmutes a lot of things. That's why we have to become caretakers of these particular beings, these particularly evolved beings. I remember, I love what you're saying about water, because as you said it, I remembered from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna saying, who was God. They talk about it as God, the personification of God in the human form. He says, I am the taste of water. It's amazing how you said that. I am the taste of water.
I think it's and to be honest, before I saw these videos, I had seen these connections with water. I studied it. I love, molecular genetics. I love biology. I love nature, but going in, for some reason, clicking it with going into the age of Aquarius, also prematurely. We weren't predicted to go quite yet, but many have confirmed that it's going to be a little earlier. It needs to be a little bit earlier. And I just found that to be such a great place to let your mind wander when you need a place, is if God was water walking into the age of Aquarius. Think of the possibilities. I mean, it's beautiful.
It's a gorgeous, I love that you brought that up. Thank you. And we need to be aware of the water. It is everything. And we need to make sure that we like Jill and some of you were sharing the fact of talking to the water, talking to your coffee in the morning. Jillian was saying, when I used to bring my kid to work, to school, I would put on his water bottle, "We love you," hearts all over it. "We love you" everywhere. And we would put his name on the water bottle. We always did that. He went to school with that. And I think it helped him, believe it or not, have better days, I think there's so much we can do, including how we cook our food. And there's a thing called prasadam, where you actually chant mantras while you cook to actually raise the frequency of the food, especially with the food, how they're, what they're doing with the food, what they're doing with our water. We may want to do that and report back. You know what I mean? I think what you're inviting in terms of meditating on the nature of God being in water, I think that's absolutely 100% true. Water being a messenger. Beautiful. I don't know how to end this. We could talk forever.
I know. And me and you, I'm like, because I love that though. Like Tony and me, we can, and I keep my energy very tight. But with Tony, I can, that is one of my breathing spaces, as I hope and believe that I am for her as well. And it's wonderful to have these discussions, and it's wonderful to find the connections that we can find and explore them with eyes that we've never had before. It looks and it feels, because I'm a big believer in journaling, that so many things that didn't make sense that were a message, which usually, I saw somebody had mentioned that they're usually not in her thought process, and she's caught off guard with them. That's very similar to how mine are. It's usually I'm thinking about something completely different, and then something pops in like, yo, this. And I'm like, oh. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. I write it down. And I've started connecting so many things. And I found that one in particular just brought me, it does help me to refuel, because though we need to be very conscious of the world around us and nature. I can't even, I'll go on forever, but you get my point. It's just to think that it eliminates any type of superiority, it just does. Well, we're all made of it. We're made of light frequency, and we're made of water. And it's such a wonderful thing to think on. And I hope, I don't even want to say I hope, I know that is a piece somehow to the age of Aquarius with the symbolization that it represents. And I love the thought of it being shared and showered upon everybody. And I more so think that it's not it being poured onto us or given to us I think that we're being made aware of that connection. We're being made aware that it was always telling us that story. It was trying. It always was trying to tell us the story. But now into the age of Aquarius, into the age of I know, now we know.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Dragon says, get some shungite and place it in your water. Shungite, which by the way, you guys can get on Etsy. I would trust that more than anyone.
I have a ton of it. I have a ton. I'm making things right now to try to sell very practically. I got very good resource. Sorry, I'm like, not to jump in. Shungite is one of my favorite. I have very ethically sourced raw shungite I'm adding into some grounding.
I need to buy some from you. I'm gonna text you because I need to get shungite. So
oh yeah, I got a ton. I'm actually all day. That's what I've been doing when we're speaking. Is I'm working on some different things with copper, and you'll see here soon. I'll have it, and I just perfected it. But yes, I'm sorry. I'm like I have so much of it. I have so much. I'm happy to share.
Yay! And then, what would you say we should put on the water bottle? Close it by telling us what you'd write on our collective water bottle.
On the collective water bottle.
Yeah.
Right now, what I would, if I were to, see, it's tricky. There's two things. There's two things. Okay. So I think as a collective, I think that what we would need to say is I am you and you are me and we are capable and we are enough. Okay. Like that is what and that is, to me, that is God. Okay. That is us being reminded that I am you, you are me. Okay. But as a collective, the one thing that I would love for us to collectively say and believe with our whole heart is we do not consent to this negative outcome.
Yes.
I want that to become a hashtag. They need our consent to move forward. That is how this parasitic entity that seeks to oppress this world and has and wants to continue. It needs us to consent to it, manifest it, think on it. That's why they flood our TVs and everything and our news with this stuff. They need our consent. So not only thinking to ourselves that we do not consent to that world, saying I do not consent.
I think that's a very has to do things in plain sight. And that means that they have to show us, and by not doing anything, we are consenting. And so it's important, like Shay's talking about, if you guys could look at maybe creating a hashtag that says we do not consent and start using that. I'm going to use that too, actually, on my videos. I'm going to start doing that.
I'm starting to. That's what I'll be talking about in my live, actually, is we do not consent. And people can mean that however they want, even if they're not very spiritual right now. But their spiritual soul is saying, I do not consent. And that's what I would like for us, everyone. That is what they need to see, because it lets them know that we know. They know we're here. They don't know how many. I'd like to show them that.
I know. So, but on the water bottles, what I would say to put in is, I love myself. Mm-hmm. I am powerful. I am all powerful.
Yes.
I am protected. I am abundant. So you can put that. I am.
I am, yes.
Yeah, and I am with hearts, stars. You know what I mean? Because you are stardust. But I love myself is the first one. Because when you love yourself enough, not in an egoic way, but in a healthy way, then you know you are valuable and powerful, right? So even though you might go through another dark night of the soul, because things shit happens, okay? You will have enough metal power in yourself that you can navigate through it with much more potency. So that I love myself. I would even put that in the mirror in your bathroom. I used to do that with my son.
Say it to yourself as you brush your teeth with your less dominant hand. That is a shaman, I believe a native shaman tradition. They do that because it sticks into your subconscious better, which is your driving force, your subconscious, where your shadows are. So it actually helps it to resonate and not feel orchestrated, because you have to give thought to that word while you're giving. It's very interesting, and I do it every day. And I started not long ago, and I can tell you it has made a massive difference. Self-love is, I love you, Tony, and I love that you said that. Self-love and saying you are enough, and at any given time, you are exactly where you are meant to be.
Yes.
And this is stuff just to think on. You don't have to put on, but just to always know. In your journey, you're exactly where you're meant to be. Like you are. And when an opportunity presents itself, you will know, and you will go forward with it, or you won't, if it feels incorrect. But you're always where you're supposed to be. You're always where you are supposed to be, and you are enough. That is one thing I think that we don't put enough emphasis on, is knowing that we are enough as we are. We are safe.
Exactly. That's exactly it. On that note, I think, wow, what a great live. I want to thank you. SHEA and I will not come up to you on TikTok and offer you a reading. I'm just going to tell you straight up. It's not going to happen. We're never going to offer you a reading. So you're being shysted. I just need to say that because it's happening on levels that are.
It's all over.
Criminal. Yeah. So we're not going to do that. If you want a reading with me, you've got to go on my website, on tonybarca.com with an I, tonybarca.com. It'll take you right to Sacred Womb Temple Healing. Fill out an intake form. This video, and I've got the other video on the walk-in, which I'm going to upload on YouTube. And all you have to look for is Sacred Intimacy Tarot on YouTube, or go to my profile page, open the link tree, and there will be my YouTube channel. You might have to scroll down. I would appreciate it if you shared this particular live, and the walk-in, because those two are going to be very important for other people to understand they're not crazy. And the messages are really important, you know what I mean? So that people know there's another truth that overcomes the 3D social mores of its time. You can't rely on societal 3D logic, because what was logical 100 years ago is considered absurd today. And so this is also what we need to transcend from indoctrination. So, like, if you can, share the video, and I would really appreciate it. The two videos that I want you guys to really think about is the walk-in and this video with SHEA. I'm going to have other people coming on to talk. And I think this was amazing. And I just want to thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. We've been talking about doing this. I would love to do it more as things evolve, as we go on. I want us to keep doing this. I love it.
Too. I had a ball.
And I love everyone here. Thank you guys so much for your input and your comments. And I could feel the energy, and it was just wonderful. Just what I needed. I love you all so much.
I love you too, and I love you all, and thank you for that. And so, again, Sacred Intimacy Tarot on YouTube will have the video. If you can't remember the name, just go on my profile link and go onto the link tree, and there it is, the YouTube, and then and share it, okay? Because the more we can open people's minds, and hashtag we do not consent. Hashtag we do not consent. The point that I was trying to make is that if you say nothing, just saying nothing, having no opinions, means you're consenting, and they walk right in with their energetic bullshit. So we want to make sure that we say that, and then the universe records it, and the more of us collectively who do it, we can push back this tidal waves of nonsense and co-create the new earth that we were born. We all volunteered to co-create. Okay. All right. Well, anything else? We do not consent.
I love it. Let's spread it around. Wildfire. Let's do it. Let's let them know we do not consent. Tony, I love you so much. Thank you. You guys have a wonderful day.
You too. Namaste. Be well.